So, you're bringing your girlfriend home for dinner tonight. You open your fridge. It is packed with all the safe, standard meats. You have prepped a premium cut of beef. You have some chicken ready to cook, and maybe some pork tucked away on the bottom shelf. You're feeling confident. Then, she demands something absolutely insane. She wants lion meat. Sounds like a joke, right? Hold on. Do not get mad. Just sit her down and make her watch this video. She needs to understand why that idea is completely unhinged. We modern humans think we are untouchable gods just because we know how to use a grill. Let me stop you right there. I bet my ass you have never eaten a wild wolf. You have never ordered a bloody tiger steak. There are no eagle wings on any menu. There is a damn good reason for that. Nature built a massive biological firewall between us and our fellow killers. We draw a hard line at eating wild predators, not because of feelings, but for 5 brutal reasons. Those rules were written in blood to keep you alive. Let us start with the economics of the wild. Not Wall Street math, but the ruthless laws of thermodynamics that run this planet. It all comes down to the universe's ultimate tax bracket, the 10% rule. Every single time energy moves up the food chain, physics steals 90% of it. Plants print their own currency out of thin air using photosynthesis. Then a cow eats that grass, but that herbivore only converts 10% of that plant power into actual beef for your dinner. The rest is burned, keeping its body warm and walking around. Now, you want to raise wild killers for food? If a predator eats that herd, it only retains 10% of the prey's mass. Let us do the biological ROI. To get 1 kilogram of normal meat, you need roughly 10 kilograms of grain. Expensive but doable. But to grow just 1 kilogram of a tiger steak, you must feed it 10 kilograms of meat, which means burning through 100 kilograms of plant matter. Picture a massive mountain of crops, literally catching fire and burning down to ashes, just to forge a single muscle fiber. You complain about inflation at the grocery store? Our ancestors faced a biological inflation so severe it meant starvation. Farming them is thermodynamic suicide. They are black holes. If the brutal math of the wild does not stop you, the sheer toxicology definitely will. You modern humans love your eat clean detox diets, obsessing over organic veggies, yet you fantasize about serving those wild killers for dinner. When pollution enters an ecosystem, it never just vanishes. It instantly concentrates through a ruthless nightmare process called bioaccumulation. Tiny trace amounts of heavy metals and mercury in plants are consumed by herbivores. Then, a wild wolf or a bear eats thousands of those prey animals over its lifetime. Suddenly, that animal becomes a biological hazard. It literally transforms into a furry toxic waste dump. Every single pollutant from an entire forest is squeezed into its flesh. But the absolute king of this horror show is polar bear liver. Because they operate as apex predators. They absorb lethal, glowing doses of toxins. Eating even a few bites triggers it. Acute vitamin A toxicity. This is not a myth. In 1913, explorer Xavier Mertz was starving in Antarctica and ate his sled dogs. The dog liver was a ticking time bomb. The toxicity tore his body apart from the inside. He suffered intense vomiting, madness, and then the ultimate body horror began. He helplessly experienced his skin peeling off in complete, agonizing layers, shedding like a snake before he finally died screaming. Nature slapped a glowing radioactive warning label directly onto the organs of these dangerous beasts. That invisible label is written in pure, unadulterated poison. Overlook it, and you die. Let us just pretend you somehow bypass the poison. You sit at a restaurant. You would instantly send back a slightly chewy cut of beef, complaining to the waiter. Yet you morbidly fantasize about chewing on wild killers. Spoiler alert, their meat is repulsive. Their muscles are built entirely of fast-twitch fibers and dense collagen for explosive hunting. This creates a texture exactly like a dried-out boot sole. There is zero marbling. Furthermore, because their diet is exclusively protein and blood, their tissues are saturated with ammonia and urea. If they scavenge trash, They literally taste like a landfill. Their fat violently reeks of foul musk and urine. Charles Darwin famously tasted almost every animal and noted cougar was an exceptionally rare, decent-tasting anomaly. But for the rest, you are chewing on foul, sweat-soaked cardboard. If the taste does not make you gag, the medical dread will. Eating them is playing a disgusting game of parasite roulette. You are inviting trichinosis directly into your body. Imagine a gray, ammonia-reeking steak packed with thousands of invisible parasites, just waiting to aggressively hook into your intestinal wall. These microscopic worms will physically burrow into your eyes, your tongue, and your diaphragm. The agony is indescribable. Then, there is the ultimate horror, prions. These indestructible, misfolded proteins cannot be killed by fire or acid. They turn your brain into melted Swiss cheese, exactly like mad cow disease. To barely survive eating this nightmare, you must cook it thoroughly past 71 degrees Celsius. That temperature does not create a culinary masterpiece. It turns the meat into safe, flavorless, leathery ash. The gourmet experience is completely dead. Yes, history shows desperate exceptions. During the horrific siege of Leningrad, starving humans ate dogs and cats to survive. However, this is apocalypse food, not a standard dinner. In some Asian cultures where dog meat is consumed, they are not hunting wild wolves. They farm them, feeding them heavy grain, effectively turning them into domesticated herbivores to eliminate that foul stench. Even Charles Darwin tasted a wild hawk and an owl, officially describing them as indescribably awful. It was a culinary nightmare. So what is the grand lesson? The animals on your plate today, like that perfectly roasted chicken, tender pork, or juicy beef, are not there just because they are docile. They are flawless biological factories. A cow is a shining evolutionary filter, effortlessly converting useless grass and solar energy into premium protein. Meanwhile, apex predators are dark toxic sponges, acting like a dangerous toxic waste dump for heavy metals, lethal parasites, and the terrifying prions of mad cow disease. You want the filter. Our ancestors did not avoid these fierce killers because of primitive superstition. They avoided them because every time they tried, they suffered brutal reasons: agonizing toxicology, bankruptcy by thermodynamics, or dying screaming with their skin peeling off from vitamin A toxicity. Evolution carved this biological firewall into our DNA with blood. We learned it well. So tonight, look down at your safe meal. Respect the millions of years of sacrifice. Nature definitively decided that those wild beasts are our absolute rivals. We must never forget it.